Dad, you're old now. You don't need all that space. Just move to the basement and let us handle the house. My name's Frank Sullivan, 73 years old, and I never thought I'd hear those words come out of my own daughter's mouth. Not after everything I sacrificed for her. Listen, I need you to hear this whole story, and I mean every word of it. Share this with someone who needs to understand what real betrayal looks like. Then tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? And hey, drop a comment letting me know what city you're listening from. You know, people always ask me, Frank, how did it get this bad? How did your own flesh and blood turn on you like that? And I tell them, it didn't happen overnight. It was slow, like watching paint peel off an old barn. You don't notice it at first, but one day you wake up and the whole damn thing is falling apart. I've been thinking about this story for months now, sitting here in my small apartment, looking at these four walls, wondering how the hell I ended up here. See, I used to have a beautiful house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, big backyard with a garden I spent years perfecting. 42 years I worked to pay for that place. Every single mortgage payment came from these hands, from the sweat on my back. But that house, well, it's not mine anymore. I gave it away, signed the deed over to my daughter Sarah with my own pen, thinking I was doing the right thing, thinking I was securing her future, making sure she'd never have to worry about a roof over her head. Boy, was I wrong. You see, Sarah's my only child. Her mother, my beautiful Margaret, passed away when Sarah was just 9 years old. Cancer took her fast. Too fast. One day we're planning our anniversary trip. The next day I'm a widower raising a little girl who keeps asking when mommy's coming home. From that moment on, it was just me and Sarah against the world. I became everything for that little girl. Father, mother, friend, protector. I worked my ass off at the steel mill, pulling double shifts, working weekends, holidays, whatever it took to make sure she had everything she needed. And she was everything to me. My reason for getting up every morning. My reason for pushing through those brutal 12-hour days when my back was screaming and my hands were bleeding. Every sacrifice felt worth it when I'd come home and see her little face light up. I remember teaching her to ride a bike in our driveway. She must have been 6 or 7, pigtails flying behind her, determined as hell not to give up. "Daddy, don't let go," she'd yell. And I'd run alongside her, my hand on the back of that pink bike with the training wheels. "I got you, baby girl. Daddy's got you." And I did. For 18 years, I had her. Through scraped knees and broken hearts, through high school drama and college applications, through every up and down life threw at us. We were a team. She was smart, my Sarah. Smarter than me, that's for sure. Honor roll student, full scholarship to college, graduated with a business degree. I was so proud of her, I thought my chest might burst. All those years of sacrifice, watching her walk across that stage. It made every sleepless night worth it. That's when she met Derek. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Derek seemed like a good kid at first. Polite, well-dressed, came from a good family. His parents owned some restaurants, had money, seemed stable. When Sarah brought him home for dinner, he called me sir, and helped with the dishes. What father wouldn't approve? They got married 2 years after college. Small ceremony, nothing fancy, but it was perfect. I walked my little girl down that aisle, thinking about Margaret and how she would have cried happy tears seeing our daughter in that white dress. For a while, things were good. They had their own apartment, both working good jobs, seemed happy. Sarah would call me every few days. They'd come over for Sunday dinners. Derek would help me fix things around the house. I thought, this is it. This is what happiness looks like. But then things started changing. It was little things at first. Derek would make comments about how close Sarah and I were. "She's married now, Frank. She doesn't need to call her daddy every day." Or he'd roll his eyes when Sarah wanted to come over and help me with something. I figured it was normal, you know? New husband wanting his wife's attention. I backed off a little, gave them space. But the space kept growing. Sarah's phone calls became less frequent. Sunday dinners turned into every other week. Then, once a month, Derek started having problems at work. Something about not getting along with his family, disagreements about the business. Sarah would make excuses for him, explain why he was stressed, why he was short-tempered. I kept my mouth shut because I loved my daughter and I trusted her judgment. But I started noticing changes in her too. She seemed tired all the time, worried. She'd lost weight, stopped talking about her job as much. When I'd ask if everything was okay, she'd just smile and say, "Everything's fine, Dad. Just busy." Then came the day that changed everything. Sarah showed up at my door on a Tuesday afternoon crying. Not the kind of crying you do when you stub your toe or watch a sad movie. This was deep, soul-crushing sobbing that reminded me of the day we buried her mother. "Dad, I need to talk to you." She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd helped her with homework for years, and told me they were in trouble, financial trouble. Derek had lost his job, they were behind on rent, facing eviction. "How much do you need, sweetheart?" That's when she broke down completely. Turns out, this wasn't the first time. Derek had been pressuring her to ask me for money for months. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. Money I'd given freely because I'd do anything for my daughter, but money that apparently wasn't enough. "Dad, I can't keep doing this. We need help, real help." I looked at my little girl, 32 years old, but looking like that scared 9-year-old who'd lost her mother, and I made a decision that I thought would solve all her problems. "Forget the rent money, Sarah. I'm going to buy you a house." Her eyes went wide. "Dad, you can't. That's too much." "I can and I will. You're my daughter and I'm not going to let you be homeless. I've got savings, I've got my pension, we'll find you a nice place, put it in your name, and you'll never have to worry about rent or mortgages again." The relief on her face. God, it broke my heart and filled it at the same time. I thought I was saving her. I thought I was being the hero dad, swooping in to rescue his little girl one more time. I spent weeks looking at houses with them. Derek seemed grateful, excited even. He talked about starting fresh, getting his life back on track. Sarah was happier than I'd seen her in months. We found a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood. Good schools nearby, nice yard, perfect for raising kids someday. The day we closed on it, Sarah hugged me so tight I thought she might break my ribs. "Thank you, Daddy. I don't know how I'll ever repay you." "You don't need to repay me, sweetheart. Just be happy. That's all I've ever wanted." I handed over the keys to that house thinking I'd just given my daughter the greatest gift a father could give. Security, stability, a future. What I actually gave her was the rope that Derek would use to hang me with. Because 3 days after they moved in, Derek's entire family showed up with suitcases. I'll never forget that phone call. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm sitting in my recliner watching the news when my phone rings. Sarah's voice on the other end, but something was different, strained. "Dad, I need to tell you something. Derek's family is going through a rough patch, and they're going to stay with us for a little while." A little while. That's what she said. A little while. How little, sweetheart? And how many people are we talking about here? There was this pause, this long, uncomfortable silence that made my stomach drop. You know that feeling when you know something bad is coming but you can't stop it? That's what that silence felt like. Well, there's Derek's parents, Maria and Carlos, and his brother Miguel with his wife Rosa and their 2 kids, and his sister Carmen. She just got divorced, so she's bringing her 3 kids too. I did the math real quick in my head. That's 11 people. 11 people moving into a 3-bedroom house that I bought for my daughter and her husband. Sarah, that's a lot of people for... "Dad, it's temporary, just until they get back on their feet." Derek says it's what family does for each other. Derek says. Those 2 words were starting to make my blood pressure spike. Since when did Derek become the authority on what family does for each other? I wanted to ask her where the hell Derek's family was when they were about to get evicted, but I bit my tongue. "All right, sweetheart, if that's what you think is best." But it wasn't all right. Something in my gut told me this was the beginning of the end. 2 days later, I decided to stop by and see how everyone was settling in. I knocked on the front door of the house I bought, and when it opened, I barely recognized the place. There were suitcases everywhere. The living room looked like a refugee camp. Kids running around screaming in Spanish, toys scattered all over my daughter's nice hardwood floors. The smell of cooking food was so strong it hit me like a wall. And there, sitting in what used to be Sarah's favorite chair, was Carlos, Derek's father. 60-something years old, beer gut hanging over his belt, remote control in his hand like he owned the place. "Oh, hey, Frank," he said without getting up. Didn't even mute the TV. "Thanks for the house, man. This is real nice." Thanks for the house. Like I'd given it to him. Sarah appeared from the kitchen, looking frazzled. Her hair was messy, she had stains on her shirt, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Dad, I didn't know you were coming. Just wanted to see how everyone was settling in. You look tired, sweetheart." Before she could answer, Derek's mother Maria came bustling out of the kitchen, speaking rapid-fire Spanish to Sarah. I don't speak Spanish, but the tone was clear. She was giving orders. Sarah nodded and hurried back toward the kitchen. My daughter, taking orders in her own house. "She's learning to cook real Mexican food," Derek said, appearing from somewhere in the back of the house. "Ma says her cooking is too bland." Too bland. My daughter, who used to make Sunday dinners that would make your mouth water, was being criticized for her cooking. In the house I bought her. "Where is everyone sleeping?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Well, Ma and Pop got the master bedroom. It's got the big bed and the nice bathroom. Miguel and Rosa took Sarah's old bedroom with their kids. Carmen and her kids are in the third bedroom." I looked around. "And where are you and Sarah sleeping?" Derek shrugged. "Living room for now. We got an air mattress. It's not so bad." My daughter was sleeping on an air mattress in the living room of the house I bought for her, while Derek's parents slept in the master bedroom. I felt something inside me start to crack. "Derek, don't you think—" "Frank, I know what you're gonna say." He held up his hand like he was stopping traffic. "But this is how we do things in our family. Respect for elders, you know. Ma and Pop deserve the best room. They raised us, sacrificed for us. Now it's our turn to take care of them. Respect for elders." The irony wasn't lost on me. I stayed for about an hour, watching my daughter run around like a servant in her own house. Maria would call out from the living room, and Sarah would drop whatever she was doing to bring her coffee. The kids would make a mess, and Sarah would clean it up. Rosa complained about the temperature, and Sarah adjusted the thermostat. When I got ready to leave, Sarah walked me to the door. "Dad, I know this isn't ideal, but—" "Sweetheart, how long is temporary?" She looked back toward the house like she was checking to see if anyone was listening. "Derek says maybe 6 months, just until his family can get back on their feet financially." 6 months. I'd bought that house thinking I was giving my daughter security and peace. Instead, I'd apparently bought a boarding house for Derek's entire extended family. "And you're okay with this?" Sarah forced a smile. The same fake smile she used to give me when she was little and trying to hide that she'd broken something. "Of course, Dad. It's what married couples do. We support each other's families." But as I drove home that day, all I could think about was something my own father used to say. "Son, when you give someone an inch, some people will take a mile, and some people will take the whole damn highway." Over the next few weeks, I started getting phone calls from Sarah. Not the usual calls where she'd tell me about her day or ask for advice. These were different. Worried calls, frustrated calls. "Dad, Derek's family they're very particular about how things should be done." "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Well, Maria thinks I should quit my job and focus on taking care of the house and the family. She says that's what a good wife does." My daughter had worked her ass off to get her business degree, had a good job at a marketing firm, and now Derek's mother wanted her to quit and become their personal housekeeper. And what does Derek say about this? Another one of those long pauses. He thinks his mother might have a point. He says the house is chaotic with everyone working different schedules. Someone needs to be home to coordinate everything. Someone. Meaning Sarah. Meaning my daughter should sacrifice her career to make Derek's family more comfortable in the house I bought. Sarah, that doesn't sound... Dad, I know what you're thinking, but maybe it would be easier. The house is pretty crazy right now, and I'm exhausted, trying to manage everything. That's when I realized what was happening. They weren't just taking over the house. They were taking over my daughter's life, piece by piece, choice by choice. They were turning her into their personal caretaker. And Derek? Derek was letting it happen. Hell, he was encouraging it. But the call that really got to me came 3 weeks later. Sarah's voice was shaky, like she'd been crying. Dad, I need to ask you something, but I don't want you to get upset. What is it, sweetheart? Maria and Carlos. They think you should contribute more to the household expenses. Since you're, Sarah's family, and we're all family now. I had to pull my truck over to the side of the road because my hands started shaking. They want me to contribute to household expenses? For the house I bought? Dad, please don't be mad. They just think that since there are more people living here now, the utility bills are higher, food costs more, And since you're the one with the pension and savings, they wanted me to pay for the privilege of housing Derek's entire family. In the house I bought with my own money. That's when I knew this wasn't temporary. This wasn't family helping family. This was something else entirely. This was a takeover. And my daughter was either too blind to see it or too scared to fight it. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning. I'd driven over to check on Sarah, maybe take her out for breakfast like we used to do when she was younger. Just the two of us, talking about life, laughing about old memories. I knocked on the door and waited and waited. Finally, Derek opened it, looking annoyed. Frank, what are you doing here? I came to see my daughter. Is that a problem? He looked back into the house, then stepped outside and closed the door behind him, like he didn't want me coming in. To the house I bought. Look, Frank, Sarah's busy right now. Ma's got her cleaning the bathrooms, and then she's got to start lunch for everyone. Maybe you could come back later. Sarah's busy cleaning bathrooms. My daughter, who used to manage marketing campaigns for million-dollar companies, was scrubbing toilets for Derek's family. I'd like to see her for just a minute. Nah, man. Like I said, she's busy. Family comes first, And we're all family now. Family. That word was starting to make me sick. Derek, I am her family. I'm her father. He gave me this look. This smug, condescending look that made my fists clench. Yeah, but you're not her husband. I am. And this is my house now. His house. His house. Excuse me? Look, Frank, I appreciate what you did for us buying this place. But Sarah and me, we're married. What's hers is mine, and what's mine is hers. So technically this is our house, mine and hers, and I make the decisions about who comes and goes. I stood there on that front porch, looking at this punk who'd somehow convinced my daughter to give up everything, and I felt something snap inside me. Derek, let me make something very clear to you. I bought this house with my money. My name might not be on the deed, but every dollar that paid for it came from 42 years of me busting my ass at the steel mill. So don't you ever tell me I can't see my daughter. His face got red. You know what your problem is, Frank? You can't let go. Sarah's a grown woman. She doesn't need daddy coming around all the time, checking up on her. And you know what your problem is, Derek? You're a leech. You and your whole damn family. You couldn't make it on your own, so you latched onto my daughter and now you're bleeding her dry. That's when the door opened and Sarah came out. She looked terrible. Thinner than I'd ever seen her, exhausted, wearing old clothes with cleaning supplies stains on them. Dad, what's going on? I heard shouting. Your husband here thinks he can decide when I get to see my own daughter. Sarah looked between us and I could see the conflict in her eyes. The same little girl who used to run to me when she was scared, now standing there torn between her father and the man who was destroying her life. Dad, Derek's right. I am busy. Maria needs help with... Sarah, look at me. I stepped closer to her. Really look at me. When's the last time you and I spent time together? Just us? When's the last time you did something you wanted to do? She started to answer, then stopped. Her eyes filled with tears. Dad, it's complicated. When you're married, you have responsibilities to your spouse's family too. Responsibilities? Sweetheart, you're not responsible for taking care of 11 people. You're not their maid. Derek stepped between us. All right, Frank, I think you should go now. I'm not talking to you, Derek. I'm talking to my daughter. Yeah, well, your daughter is my wife and she's got work to do. That's when I heard Maria's voice from inside the house, yelling in Spanish. Whatever she was saying, it made Sarah's face go pale. I have to go, Dad. She's calling for me. Sarah, wait. But she was already hurrying back inside, leaving me standing there with Derek. See, Frank, this is what I'm talking about. You show up here, upset Sarah, get her all confused. We've got a good thing going here. Everyone's happy. Everyone's happy? Your wife is sleeping on an air mattress while your parents take her bedroom. She's cleaning up after your entire family like she's some kind of servant. If you think that's happiness, you're even more of an idiot than I thought. Derek's face went dark. You know what, old man? I'm getting real tired of your attitude. Maybe it's time you learned some respect. Respect? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk to me about respect? You moved your entire family into the house I bought, kicked my daughter out of her own bedroom, turned her into your personal cleaning lady, and now you want me to respect you? I want you to respect my marriage and my decisions as the man of the house. The man of the house. The house I paid for. Derek, let me tell you something about being a man. A real man doesn't let his family treat his wife like garbage. A real man doesn't take handouts from his father-in-law and then act like he's doing everyone a favor. And a real man sure as hell doesn't hide behind his mommy when things get tough. He took a step toward me, and for a second I thought he might actually try something. I'm 73, but I'm still 6'2", and I've been in more fights than this punk could imagine. You better watch your mouth, Frank. Or what? You gonna kick me out of the house I bought? You gonna tell your wife she can't see her father anymore? Go ahead, Derek. Show me what kind of man you really are. Before he could answer, the door opened again, and Carlos came out. Derek's father, wearing my daughter's husband's confidence like it was his own. What's all the noise out here? Derek, who is this guy? This guy? Carlos didn't know who I was. The man who bought the house he was sleeping in didn't even register as important enough to remember. Pop, this is Frank, Sarah's dad. Oh! Carlos looked me up and down like he was sizing up a used car. Yeah, Derek told me about you. You're the one with money. The one with money. Not Sarah's father. Not the man who sacrificed everything for his daughter. Just the wallet. That's right. I'm the one who bought the house you're living in. Carlos shrugged. Well, thanks for that. But Derek's in charge now. This is his house. His family. Maybe you should call before you come over next time. Call before I come over. To the house I bought. I looked at these two men standing on the porch of the house I'd worked 42 years to afford, telling me I needed permission to see my own daughter, and something crystallized in my mind. This wasn't about family helping family. This wasn't about temporary hardship or cultural differences or any of the other excuses I'd been making. This was about power, and they thought they had it. They thought because I loved my daughter, because I'd do anything to make her happy, they could walk all over me. They thought I was just some old fool who'd hand over everything and then disappear quietly into the background. They were wrong. You know what, Carlos? Derek? You're absolutely right. This is Derek's house now. His name is on the deed, his family is living in it, and he's making all the decisions. They both looked surprised, like they'd expected me to argue more. But here's the thing you two geniuses forgot. Derek might own the house, but I still own something even more valuable. What's that? Derek asked. I smiled. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile you give someone right before you teach them a lesson they'll never forget. I own the truth, and pretty soon, everyone's gonna know exactly what kind of men you really are. That night, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of black coffee and the real estate documents spread out in front of me. Every paper from the house purchase, every receipt, every bank statement. 42 years of steel mill paychecks, overtime hours, and sacrifice staring back at me in black and white. Derek thought he was smart, thought because his name was on the deed, He held all the cards. But Derek forgot something important about old guys like me. We didn't get to be old by being stupid. I picked up my phone and called my lawyer, Jim Peterson. Known him for 20 years, handled Margaret's will when she passed, helped me with the house purchase. Jim, it's Frank Sullivan. I need to see you first thing Monday morning. Everything all right, Frank? No, Jim. Everything's not all right, but it's about to be. Monday morning. I walked into Jim's office carrying a manila folder thick with documents. Jim's a good lawyer, but more than that, he's a good man. When I told him what was happening, his face went red as a tomato. Frank, I gotta ask you something, and don't take offense. When you bought that house, did you understand that putting it in Sarah's name meant you had no legal claim to it? Of course I understood. I'm not senile, Jim. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was trying to give my daughter security, and now she's being taken advantage of. That's putting it mildly. Jim leaned back in his chair, thinking. Frank, legally speaking, there's not much we can do. The house is Sarah's property now. If she wants to let her husband's family live there, that's her right. I figured as much. But Jim, I didn't just give her a house. I've been giving them money too. Lots of money. That got his attention. How much money are we talking about? I opened my folder and pulled out bank statements, copies of checks, money transfer receipts. $37,000 over the past 8 months. Derek kept coming to Sarah with emergencies. Car repairs, medical bills, family crisis back in Mexico. Every time Sarah would call me crying, and every time I'd transfer the money. Jim whistled low. That's a lot of money, Frank. Money I'll never see again. But here's the thing, Jim. I started keeping records 3 months ago. Every request, every excuse, every lie Derek told my daughter to get money out of me. I pulled out another stack of papers. Phone records showing calls between Derek and his family right before each emergency. Social media posts from Derek's relatives showing them at restaurants, buying new cars, taking vacations. All while they were supposedly broke and desperate. Jim, they've been scamming my daughter. And through her, they've been scamming me. Jim studied the documents carefully. Frank, this is fraud. Clear-cut fraud. Have you shown this to Sarah? I tried. But Derek's got her so twisted around. She makes excuses for everything. Last week, I showed her a Facebook post of Derek's brother Miguel buying a new motorcycle. Same week, Sarah called me crying because Miguel needed $2,000 for his kids' medical bills. What did she say? She said Miguel probably saved up for the motorcycle, and the medical bills were separate. She's defending them, Jim. My own daughter is defending the people who are robbing her blind. Jim was quiet for a long moment. Frank, what do you want to do here? Because if we're talking about pressing charges for fraud, no charges. Not yet anyway. First, I want to try something else. What's that? I smiled. I want to cut off their supply. See, Derek and his family had gotten comfortable. They thought they'd found their golden goose, and that goose would keep laying eggs forever. They'd gotten so comfortable, in fact, that they'd gotten sloppy. Derek had been using Sarah's credit cards, cards that were linked to joint accounts, accounts that had my money in them. Every time I transferred money to help with an emergency, some of it went to Derek's personal spending. Jim, I want you to help me set up a financial intervention. Something that'll expose what's really going on, but protect Sarah at the same time. What kind of intervention? The kind that forces Derek to tell the truth. Over the next 2 weeks, Jim and I put together what he called Operation Reality Check. We documented everything, every lie, every manipulation, every dollar that went missing. But more than that, we set up a trap. I opened a new bank account and transferred $50,000 into it. Then I called Sarah. Sweetheart, I've been thinking about everything that's happened, and I realize I've been selfish. What do you mean, Dad? I mean, Derek's right. You two are married, and his family is your family now. I should be doing more to help. There was surprise in her voice. Dad, you've done so much already. Not enough. I want to set up a family fund. $50,000 to help everyone get back on their feet. But I want to do this right, through a lawyer, with proper documentation. Can you and Derek come to Jim Peterson's office this Friday? Sarah was quiet for a moment. Dad, that's incredibly generous. But $50,000? Are you sure? I'm sure, sweetheart. I want your marriage to work. I want Derek's family to succeed. But I also want to make sure the money is used properly, for the right purposes. That Friday, Sarah and Derek showed up at Jim's office. Derek was practically bouncing with excitement. $50,000 probably seemed like winning the lottery to him. Frank, man, this is incredible, Derek said, shaking my hand like we were old friends. I knew you'd come around. Families gotta stick together, right? That's right, Derek. Families gotta stick together. Jim laid out the paperwork. The fund was set up as a trust, with specific purposes. Medical expenses, job training, legitimate emergencies. All expenditures had to be documented and approved. Derek signed without reading. Sarah signed after barely glancing at the documents. They were both so focused on the money, they missed the most important part. Every withdrawal from the fund would be cross-referenced against a database Jim had compiled. A database of every lie Derek had told, every fake emergency, every dollar he'd already stolen. So how does this work? Derek asked. When can we access the money? Immediately, Jim said. Just submit your requests with documentation, and we'll process them within 24 hours. Derek's eyes lit up. Actually, we've got an emergency right now. My sister Carmen, her son needs surgery. Real urgent. We need about $5,000. I looked at Sarah. Sweetheart, did you know about this emergency? Derek just told me this morning. Poor little Miguel. He needs his appendix out. Jim opened his laptop. Let me just verify this real quick. He typed for a few seconds, then looked up. Derek, is this the same Miguel who posted on Instagram yesterday about starting soccer camp? Derek's face went pale. What? Because according to the medical records you provided last time, Miguel had his appendix removed 2 years ago, along with his tonsils. Seems like this kid has had a lot of medical emergencies. Sarah turned to look at Derek. Derek, what's he talking about? Jim continued typing. Oh, and Carmen? Interesting. According to her Facebook page, she's been in Cancun for the past week. Family vacation, lots of pictures of her kids playing on the beach, healthy-looking kids. The color drained from Derek's face. There must be some mistake. No mistake, Derek. I stood up and walked over to him. The mistake was thinking you could keep lying to my daughter forever. Jim turned his laptop around so Sarah could see the screen. Facebook posts, Instagram pictures, text message screenshots. Months of evidence showing Derek's family living it up while claiming to be desperate. Sarah stared at the screen, her mouth open. Derek, what is this? Sarah, I can explain. Explain what? Explain how your nephew had his appendix removed twice? Explain how your sister is in Mexico while you're telling me she needs emergency surgery money? Derek looked around the room like a trapped animal. Look, okay. Maybe some of the details got mixed up. Mixed up? I stepped closer to him. $37,000, Derek. That's how much you've stolen from my daughter in 8 months. $37,000 based on lies. Sarah was crying now, but not the defeated crying I'd been seeing for months. This was angry crying. Derek, how could you do this to me? To us? Sarah, baby, listen to me. No. She stood up, wiping her eyes. I'm done listening to you. I'm done making excuses for you. I'm done being your family's personal ATM. Derek tried to grab her hand. Sarah, please let me explain. She pulled away from him. There's nothing to explain, Derek. It's all right here on the screen. Months of lies, months of you making me call my father begging for money while your family was partying and buying toys. That's when Derek made his biggest mistake. Instead of apologizing, instead of trying to make things right, he got angry. You know what, Sarah? Fine. You want the truth? Here's the truth. Your dad's money was easy to get because you're weak. You believe anything I tell you. And your dad, he's so desperate to make you happy. He'll give us whatever we want. The room went dead silent. Sarah stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Get out! Sarah! Get out! She screamed it so loud I thought the windows might break. Get out of this office. Get out of my house and get your family out too. I want you gone. All of you. Today. Derek looked at me, then at Jim, then back at Sarah. You can't kick me out. I live there. We're married. That's when I smiled. Actually, Derek, she can. See, that house is in Sarah's name only. You never bothered to add your name to the deed. Legally speaking, you're just a guest, and guests can be asked to leave. Derek's face went through about 6 different expressions before settling on pure rage. This is bullshit. You two planned this whole thing. You're damn right we did, I said, and it worked perfectly. The drive back to the house was tense as hell. Sarah rode with me, crying and angry and embarrassed, all at the same time. Derek followed behind us in his beat-up Honda, probably trying to figure out how to spin this disaster. Dad, I'm so sorry, Sarah kept saying. I can't believe I was so stupid. I can't believe I let him do this to you, to us. Sweetheart, you're not stupid. You trusted the man you married. That's what you're supposed to do. But the signs were all there. God, how could I have been so blind? I reached over and squeezed her hand. Because you loved him? And when you love someone, you want to believe the best about them. That doesn't make you stupid, Sarah. That makes you human. When we pulled into the driveway, I could see faces in the windows. Derek's family, watching us come home. They probably thought we were bringing back good news about the $50,000. They were about to get a very different kind of news. Sarah took a deep breath and straightened her shoulders. For the first time in months, she looked like the strong, confident woman I'd raised. Dad, I want you to stay for this. I want you to see me handle this. You sure, sweetheart? I'm sure. I need to do this, and I need you to witness it. We walked up to the front door together. Sarah put her key in the lock, turned it, and stepped inside like she owned the place, which of course she did. The entire family was gathered in the living room. Maria and Carlos sitting in their usual spots, Miguel and Rosa with their kids on the floor, Carmen and her 3 children scattered around the room, all of them looking at us expectantly. Well? Maria asked in her broken English. How much money did the old man give us this time? The old man. Even now, even after everything, they still didn't see me as a person, just a source of money. Sarah looked around the room at all these people who'd been treating her like a servant in her own house for months. There's no money, she said quietly. Maria frowned. What you mean, no money? Derek said his father-in-law was giving us $50,000. Derek lied, just like he's been lying about everything else. The room went quiet. Derek came through the front door behind us, his face red and sweaty. Sarah, let's talk about this privately. No. Sarah's voice was firm. We're going to talk about this right here, in front of everyone, because everyone needs to hear the truth. She walked to the center of the room, and I swear she looked 10 feet tall. Maria, Carlos, all of you. For the past 8 months, you've been living in my house, eating my food, using my utilities, and treating me like your personal maid. And the whole time, Derek has been telling you that my father was happy to pay for everything. Carlos stood up. What's wrong with you, Sarah? We are family now. Family helps family. Family? Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about family? Real family doesn't lie to each other. Real family doesn't steal from each other. We no steal nothing, Maria said indignantly. Sarah pulled out her phone and started reading from Jim's documentation. Miguel's appendix surgery that never happened. Carmen's emergency divorce lawyer fees while she was vacationing in Cancun. Carlos's heart medication while he was posting pictures of himself at baseball games. The room erupted. Everyone started talking at once in Spanish, voices getting louder and angrier. Derek was trying to calm everyone down, but he looked like a man drowning. Enough, I shouted, and the room went quiet. Everyone sit down and shut up. Maria started to say something, but I held up my hand. Lady, I said, shut up. For 8 months, you people have been living off my generosity and my daughter's kindness. And the whole time you've been lying, cheating, and stealing. Well, the party's over. Carlos stepped toward me. You can't talk to my wife like that. I can talk to her any way I want. This is my daughter's house, bought with my money, and you're all trespassing. Derek is married to Sarah, Carlos said. He has rights. Derek has the right to live here with my daughter. The rest of you? Your guests who have overstayed your welcome. Sarah stepped forward. Actually, Dad, Derek doesn't have the right to live here anymore either. The room went dead silent. Derek stared at her. What are you talking about? I'm talking about divorce, Derek. I want you out of my house and out of my life. Maria jumped up from her chair. You cannot divorce my son. You are married in the eyes of God. Your son is a liar and a thief, Sarah shot back. And I don't think God approves of lying and stealing. Sarah, please, Derek said, his voice breaking. Let's talk about this. We can work this out. Work what out, Derek? The fact that you've been using me to steal money from my father? The fact that you moved your entire family into my house without asking me? The fact that you've turned me into a servant in my own home? I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far. And you let it happen. You encouraged it. Rosa stood up, holding her youngest child. Sarah, you are being very unfair. We needed help. Family helps family. Then why didn't Derek's family help when we were about to be evicted? Sarah asked. Where was all this family loyalty when Derek lost his job and we were facing homelessness? Nobody answered. I'll tell you where it was, Sarah continued. It was nowhere. But the minute my father bought us this house, suddenly everyone needed help. Suddenly everyone had emergencies. Carmen started crying. We have nowhere to go. We have children. That's not my problem anymore, Sarah said coldly. You have until tomorrow night to find somewhere else to live. The room exploded again. Everyone was shouting, crying, arguing. The kids were scared and confused. It was chaos. Derek grabbed Sarah's arm. Sarah, you can't do this. These are my family. My blood. Sarah pulled away from him. And I'm your wife. Or I was. But you chose them over me, Derek. You chose their comfort over my happiness. You chose their lies over our marriage. I was trying to help them. No, you were using me to help them. There's a difference. Maria started screaming in Spanish, pointing at Sarah and me. I don't know what she was saying, but the tone was clear. She was pissed. Carlos tried to be the voice of reason. Look, maybe we all got a little carried away. But we can fix this. Derek, tell your wife you're sorry. Sarah, forgive your husband. We're all family here. We're not family, I said. Family doesn't treat each other like this. You don't understand our culture, Carlos said. Your culture? I stepped closer to him. Your culture involves lying and stealing and treating women like servants? Because if that's your culture, I want nothing to do with it. Derek looked desperate. Sarah, I love you. We can get through this. Do you love me, Derek? Because love doesn't feel like this. Love doesn't make someone feel small and used and worthless. I never meant to make you feel that way. But you did. Every time you chose them over me. Every time you let your mother criticize my cooking or your father take over my living room. Every time you asked me to call my father for more money, instead of getting a job yourself. Miguel, who'd been quiet this whole time, finally spoke up. This is all your father's fault. He turned you against us with his lies. That's when I lost it. My lies? I stepped toward Miguel. Boy, I've got bank records, phone records, social media posts, and 8 months of documentation proving every single lie your family has told. Don't you dare stand in the house I bought and call me a liar. Sarah put her hand on my arm. Dad, it's okay. They're leaving. She turned to face the room full of angry, crying people. Everyone needs to be out of this house by tomorrow at 6 p.m. Take your belongings and go. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police and having you removed for trespassing. Derek looked around the room at his family, then back at Sarah. And what about me? Sarah stared at him for a long moment. You can stay tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk about how to handle the divorce. Sarah. No, Derek, we're done. You made your choice months ago when you decided your family's comfort was more important than our marriage. Now I'm making mine. That night was the longest night of my life. I stayed at Sarah's house, sleeping on the couch in case Derek's family tried to pull something stupid. The house was eerily quiet. No kids running around, no Maria yelling orders in Spanish, no Carlos channel surfing at full volume. Just the sound of people packing upstairs, and Derek and Sarah talking in hushed, tense voices in the kitchen. Around 2 in the morning, I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. It was Carlos carrying a suitcase. He saw me sitting on the couch and stopped. "Frank, we need to talk." "No, we don't." "Listen to me. You're making a big mistake. Derek is a good man. He loves your daughter." I stood up and faced him. "Carlos, if you think what Derek did to my daughter is love, then you don't know what love is. You don't understand. In our family, we take care of each other. When someone has more, they share with those who have less. There's a difference between sharing and stealing, Carlos. And there's a difference between asking for help and lying to get it." He set down his suitcase and stepped closer to me. "You think you're better than us because you have money. No, I think I'm better than you because I don't lie to my family. We did what we had to do to survive." "Bullshit." I kept my voice low, but the anger was clear. "You did what you did because it was easy. You found a mark in my daughter, and you exploited her good nature." Carlos's face got red. "Your daughter is weak. She gives money to anyone who asks. Derek had to learn to take advantage of that, or someone else would have." I stared at this man who'd been living in the house I bought, eating food I paid for, and he was calling my daughter weak for being generous. "Get out of my sight, Carlos. Before I do something I'll regret." He picked up his suitcase and headed for the door, then turned back. "This isn't over, Frank. Derek is still married to your daughter. We'll be back." "No, you won't. And if you try, I'll have you arrested for trespassing." He left without another word. The next morning, the house was chaos. Maria was screaming at Derek in Spanish, blaming him for ruining everything. Miguel was throwing clothes into garbage bags. Carmen was crying while her kids asked why they had to leave. And Derek? Derek was trying to convince Sarah to change her mind. "Baby, please, we can work this out. I'll get a job. I'll make this right." Sarah was making coffee, her back to him. "Derek, it's too late." "It's not too late. Look, I made mistakes, okay? I got caught up in trying to help my family, and I lost sight of what was important." "What was important, Derek?" "You. Our marriage." Sarah turned around and looked at him. "If I was important, you wouldn't have let your mother treat me like a maid. If our marriage was important, you wouldn't have lied to me for 8 months. I was protecting you. Protecting me from what? From knowing how desperate my family really was." Sarah shook her head. "You weren't protecting me, Derek. You were protecting yourself. You were protecting your image as the good son who takes care of everyone." I was sitting at the kitchen table listening to this conversation, and I had to give Sarah credit. She was seeing everything clearly now. Derek tried a different approach. "Sarah, think about what you're giving up. We're married. We took vows." "Yeah, we did. For better or worse, for richer or poorer. But those vows go both ways, Derek. You were supposed to put our marriage first, not your extended family." "In my culture." "Stop." Sarah held up her hand. "Stop using your culture as an excuse for bad behavior. I know plenty of Hispanic families who don't lie and steal from each other." Around noon, Miguel came downstairs with the last of his family's belongings. He looked at me sitting at the kitchen table and sneered. "You happy now, old man? You destroyed a family." "I didn't destroy anything. Your lies destroyed your family. We're Derek's family. We belong together." Then Derek should have thought about that before he married my daughter. Rosa appeared behind Miguel carrying their youngest child. "Miguel, let's just go. These people don't understand family loyalty." "Family loyalty?" I stood up. "Lady, I know all about family loyalty. I worked 42 years to take care of my family. I gave my daughter a house to secure her future. But I did it honestly. I didn't lie, cheat, or steal to make it happen." Rosa looked at Sarah. "Sarah, you will regret this. When you have no one left, you will remember that we loved you like family." Sarah looked at this woman who'd been living in her house for 8 months, eating her food, using her utilities, and treating her like a servant. Rosa, if that's what your kind of love looks like, I'm better off without it. By 4 o'clock, most of Derek's family was gone. The house felt different, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. Maria was the last to leave. She came into the kitchen where Sarah and I were sitting, her face hard as stone. Sarah, you are making the biggest mistake of your life. I don't think so, Maria. Derek is a good man. He tried to take care of his family. That makes him honorable. Derek is a liar and a thief, Sarah said calmly. That makes him dishonorable. Maria turned to me. And you? You think you won something here. But you lost your daughter's marriage. You broke up a family. I saved my daughter from a family of parasites. Maria's eyes flashed with anger. We will see who was right. When Sarah is old and alone, she will remember that she had a family who loved her. She has a family who loves her, I said. Me. Maria spit on the kitchen floor and walked out. Derek stayed until the very end, trying to convince Sarah to change her mind. But by 5:30, even he had to accept reality. Sarah, I'm going to stay at my cousin's place for a while. But this isn't over. We're still married. Not for long. You can't just throw away 3 years of marriage because of a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Sarah stared at him. Derek, you stole $37,000 from my father using lies and manipulation. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fraud. I never meant for it to go that far. But it did go that far. And every step of the way you chose to lie instead of telling the truth. Derek looked around the house one last time. This used to be our home. No, Derek. This was my home that I shared with you. But you turned it into a boarding house for your family. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. Derek picked up his last bag and headed for the door. Sarah, I love you. If you loved me, Derek, you never would have put me in this position. After he left, Sarah and I sat in the quiet house. For the first time in 8 months, it was just the two of us. How do you feel, sweetheart? Sarah was quiet for a long time. Relieved, angry, sad, embarrassed, all at the same time. You have nothing to be embarrassed about. I let them walk all over me, Dad. I let them turn me into their personal servant while they stole from you. You trusted your husband. That's what wives are supposed to do. But I should have seen the signs. I should have stood up for myself. I reached over and took her hand. Sarah, you're 29 years old. You're smart, you're strong, and you've got your whole life ahead of you. Don't waste time beating yourself up about the past. Focus on the future. She squeezed my hand. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let them take advantage of you. I'm sorry I didn't listen when you tried to warn me. You don't owe me any apologies, sweetheart. You're my daughter. Taking care of you is what I'm supposed to do. We sat there in the quiet house, and for the first time in months, it felt like home again. But Derek's family was wrong about one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. For 2 weeks, everything was quiet. Sarah started going back to work, trying to rebuild her career after months of being Derek's family's personal assistant. She seemed lighter, happier, more like the daughter I remembered. We were having coffee in her kitchen on a Tuesday morning when her phone started buzzing. Text after text after text. Who's that, sweetheart? Sarah looked at her phone and her face went pale. It's Derek. What's he saying? She scrolled through the messages, her expression getting darker with each one. He's saying his family is homeless because of me, that his nieces and nephews are sleeping in their car, that I destroyed innocent children's lives. Nah, Sarah, you know that's not true. I know, but she showed me a picture Derek had sent. 3 kids sitting in the back of a beat-up van, looking sad and dirty. My blood pressure spiked. Sarah, don't fall for this manipulation. But Dad, what if they really are homeless? What if those kids really are suffering? Then Derek should get a job and take care of his family, instead of guilt-tripping his ex-wife. Before Sarah could respond, her phone rang. Derek's name on the screen. Answer it, I said. Put it on speaker. Sarah hesitated, then answered. Hello, Derek. Sarah, baby, thank God you answered. Listen, I need your help. Derek, we're divorced. I'm not your baby anymore. Legally, we're still married. The papers aren't final yet. The papers will be final next month. Sarah, please, just listen. My family, they're in bad shape. Carmen's kids are sleeping in Miguel's van. My parents are staying in a shelter. Rosa's been crying for days. Sarah looked at me. I shook my head. Derek, that's not my problem anymore. How can you say that? These are children, Sarah. Innocent kids who didn't do anything wrong. You're right, Derek. They didn't do anything wrong. You did. Sarah, I'm begging you. Just let them come back for a few weeks, until they can get back on their feet. No. Sarah. No, Derek. I said no. Fine. Then just let me come back. We can work on our marriage while I help my family find somewhere else to live. Sarah was wavering. I could see it in her face. The same soft heart that had gotten her into this mess in the first place. Derek, we're getting divorced. There's no marriage to work on. There could be. Sarah, I love you. I made mistakes, but I love you. Love isn't enough, Derek. What if I get a job? What if I promise to put you first from now on? You had 8 months to get a job, Derek. 8 months to put me first. I was trying to take care of my family by lying and stealing from mine. Derek's tone changed, got harder. Sarah, you're being cruel. You're punishing innocent children because you're mad at me. That's when I grabbed the phone. Derek, this is Frank. Let me make something very clear to you. Those children are not Sarah's responsibility. They're yours. If you want them to have a roof over their heads, get off your ass and provide one. Frank, this is between me and my wife. Your soon-to-be ex-wife. And no, it's not between you two. You made it my business when you decided to steal my money. I never stole anything. $37,000, Derek. Based on lies. That's called fraud. I was trying to help my family. You were trying to help yourself to my money. Derek was quiet for a moment. Then, you know what, Frank? You think you won something here. But you didn't. You just showed Sarah who you really are. And who's that? A controlling old man who can't let his daughter have her own life. I felt Sarah tense up beside me. Derek, I said calmly, if letting my daughter have her own life means letting your family steal from her and treat her like a servant, then yeah, I'm going to control that situation. Sarah deserves better than you. You're right. She deserves better than both of us. But at least I love her enough to protect her from people who want to use her. Derek hung up. Sarah stared at the phone. Dad, what if he's right? What if I am being cruel? Sweetheart, showing compassion to people who hurt you isn't kindness. It's stupidity. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Carmen, a picture of her kids with a message, "These children are homeless because of you." Then another text from Rosa. Sarah, how can you sleep at night knowing we're suffering? Then Miguel, you used to be family. Now you're just another rich bitch. Sarah's hands were shaking. Turn the phone off, I said. Dad, maybe I should... Turn it off, Sarah. She powered down the phone and looked at me with tears in her eyes. What if they really are homeless? What if those kids really are sleeping in a van? Then Derek needs to man up and take care of them. But what if he can't? Sarah, listen to me. Derek's family took advantage of you for 8 months. They treated you like garbage in your own house. They stole money from me using lies and manipulation. And now, when there are consequences for their actions, they want you to feel guilty about it. I know, but no buts, sweetheart. You are not responsible for Derek's family. You never were. That afternoon, I decided to do some investigating. If Derek's family was really homeless, really suffering, I wanted to know the truth. I drove by Miguel's house first, the one he'd been kicked out of months ago when he claimed he couldn't pay rent. Funny thing is, there was his van in the driveway. Same van those sad kids were supposedly sleeping in. I parked across the street and waited. About an hour later, Miguel came out of the house, got in a different car, and drove away. Definitely not homeless. Next, I checked Carmen's old apartment, the one she supposedly lost when she got divorced. Took me about 20 minutes of asking neighbors to find out she'd moved in with her new boyfriend 3 blocks away. Derek's parents were supposedly in a homeless shelter, But a quick call to my buddy Joe, who volunteers at the local shelter, confirmed they'd never been there. Every single sob story was a lie, just like everything else. I drove back to Sarah's house and found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her powered-off phone. "Turn it back on," I said. "Dad, I don't want to see more guilt trips." "Trust me, turn it on." She powered up the phone. Immediately, it started buzzing with messages. More pictures of sad kids, more guilt trips, more manipulation. I pulled out my own phone and showed Sarah the pictures I'd taken. Miguel's house with his van in the driveway. Carmen's new boyfriend's apartment with her car parked outside. "They're not homeless, sweetheart. They're lying." Again. Sarah stared at the pictures. "How did you?" "Because I know liars when I see them. And Derek's family are professional liars." Sarah's sadness turned to anger. "They sent me pictures of kids in a van, making me think they were homeless when they're all living in houses." "That's exactly what they did." Sarah grabbed her phone and started typing. Fast, angry typing. "What are you writing?" "I'm telling Derek that I know they're not homeless, and if he contacts me again with his lies, I'm pressing charges for harassment." She sent the message, then blocked Derek's number, then Carmen's, then Rosa's, then Miguel's. "You know what, Dad? I'm done feeling guilty. I'm done being manipulated. I gave them 8 months of my life, and they repaid me with lies and theft. Good for you, sweetheart. But I was trying to be a good wife, a good daughter-in-law, a good person. But they saw kindness as weakness. Some people do. Well, they picked the wrong family to mess with." That night, Sarah seemed more at peace than she'd been in months. But around 10 o'clock, I heard a car pull into the driveway. I looked out the window and saw Derek's Honda. "Sarah, Derek's here. I blocked his number. How did he?" We heard footsteps on the front porch, then pounding on the door. "Sarah, open up. We need to talk." More pounding. "Sarah, I know you're in there. This is still my house, too." I walked to the front door. "Derek, go home. Sarah doesn't want to talk to you. This is between me and my wife, Frank. Your wife told you not to contact her. That's called harassment. I'm not leaving until she talks to me." I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. "Frank, what are you doing?" "I'm calling the police. You're trespassing." "This is my house." "No, it's not. It's Sarah's house, and she wants you to leave." Within 10 minutes, 2 police officers were standing on the front porch. Derek was still arguing, still claiming he had a right to be there. The officers checked the deed, confirmed Derek had no legal claim to the property, and arrested him for trespassing and harassment. As they put him in the back of the patrol car, Derek looked at me through the window with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Frank." I smiled and waved goodbye. But he was right about one thing. It wasn't over. It was just getting started. Derek spent 3 days in jail before his cousin bailed him out. 3 days that gave Sarah and me some peace. But I knew it was just the calm before the storm. Sure enough, on Thursday morning, Sarah came running into my apartment, crying and shaking. "Dad, someone broke into the house last night." My blood went cold. "Are you hurt? Did they take anything?" "No, I wasn't there. I stayed at Julie's house after my girls' night out." "But Dad, they didn't steal anything. They destroyed everything." We drove to her house together, and what I saw made my hands shake with rage. Someone had taken a baseball bat to every piece of furniture in the living room. They'd poured motor oil all over the carpets, spray-painted profanity on the walls, smashed every mirror in the house. But the worst part? They'd found Sarah's photo albums. 20 years of memories scattered across the floor, torn up, covered in the same motor oil that had ruined the carpets. Sarah picked up a photo of her and her mother from when she was 8 years old. Half of it was missing, the other half soaked in oil. "Dad, they destroyed everything. Everything Mom left me, everything we built together." I held my daughter while she cried, and I felt something dark and cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just vandalism. This was personal. This was Derek's family trying to break Sarah's spirit. "Sweetheart, we need to call the police." "What's the point? They didn't steal anything. They'll just say it was random vandalism." "Maybe, but I don't think this was random." The police came, took their report, dusted for fingerprints. Professional, thorough, but I could tell they thought it was just another break-in. Random teenagers, maybe drug addicts looking for something to steal. But I knew better. That afternoon, I called Jim Peterson. Jim, I need you to hire a private investigator. Someone good. Someone who can find out what Derek's family is planning. Frank, are you sure about this? Private investigators are expensive. I don't care what it costs. They declared war on my daughter. I'm gonna finish it. The PI Jim recommended was a woman named Linda Hayes. Former police detective, tough as nails, smart as hell. She met me and Sarah at a coffee shop downtown. Mr. Sullivan, tell me what you're dealing with. I laid out the whole story. Derek's lies, the financial fraud, the break-in, everything. Linda took notes, asked questions, and by the end of our meeting, she had a plan. I'll need 3 days, she said. Maybe 4. But if Derek's family is planning something else, I'll find out what it is. While Linda was investigating, I wasn't sitting around waiting. I installed a security system at Sarah's house. Cameras, motion sensors, the whole package. I also had the locks changed and hired a cleaning crew to start repairing the damage. But the most important thing I did was something Derek's family would never expect. I went to visit Derek. He was staying at his cousin's apartment, a rundown place on the wrong side of town. When he answered the door, his face went through about 6 different expressions. Frank, what the hell are you doing here? We need to talk. I got nothing to say to you. Good. Then you can listen. I pushed past him into the apartment. It was small, dirty, and smelled like old beer and disappointment. Derek, I know your family trashed Sarah's house. I don't know what you're talking about. Cut the bullshit. I know it was them. You know it was them. And pretty soon the police are gonna know it was them. Derek's face went pale. You can't prove anything. Maybe not yet, but I will. And when I do, every single member of your family is going to jail. Frank, look. No, you look. I stepped closer to him. For 8 months, I tried to be the bigger man. I tried to keep my mouth shut and let you and Sarah work things out. But you took advantage of my patience. You mistook my kindness for weakness. We never meant for things to go this far. Bullshit. You meant for it to go exactly this far. You planned to bleed my daughter dry and then move on to the next mark. Derek sat down on his cousin's ratty couch. What do you want, Frank? I want you and your family to disappear. Permanently. We can't just... Yes, you can. You can pack up your lies and your schemes and your fake emergencies, and you can get the hell out of my daughter's life forever. And if we don't? I smiled. Not a friendly smile. Then I destroy you. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've got evidence of fraud, harassment, trespassing, and destruction of property. It means I've got enough documentation to send every adult member of your family to prison. Derek's hands were shaking. Frank, please. It also means I know where Miguel works, where Carmen's kids go to school, where your parents get their social security checks. You want to play games with my family? Let's see how well your family handles having their lives turned upside down. You can't threaten us. I'm not threatening you, Derek. I'm making you a promise. Leave my daughter alone, and I'll leave your family alone. Keep messing with her, and I'll rain holy hell down on all of you. Derek was quiet for a long time. What about Sarah? What about our marriage? What marriage? You destroyed that the day you chose your family's comfort over your wife's happiness. I love her. No, you don't. You love what she represented. Security, money, someone you could manipulate. But you never loved her. That's not true. If you loved her, you wouldn't have let your mother treat her like a servant. If you loved her, you wouldn't have stolen from her father. If you loved her, you sure as hell wouldn't have destroyed her house and her memories. Derek put his head in his hands. I fucked up, didn't I? Yeah, Derek, you fucked up. Big time. Is there any way to fix this? I looked at this pathetic man sitting on his cousin's couch, and for a second I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. The only way to fix this is to leave Sarah alone. Let her divorce you, let her move on with her life, and never contact her again. And if I do that, if my family and I just disappear, then we're done. No charges, no investigations, no revenge. You go your way. We go ours. Derek was quiet for another long moment. I need to talk to my family. You've got 24 hours to decide. After that, I turn everything over to the police and let the chips fall where they may. I headed for the door, then turned back. Derek, I want you to understand something. I spent 42 years working my ass off to give my daughter a good life. I'm not going to let some lying, scheming piece of trash destroy that. You can take the easy way out, or you can take the hard way. But either way, you're out. That night, Linda Hayes called me with her report. Mr. Sullivan, you're not going to like what I found. Tell me. Derek's family has been planning this whole thing for months. Before they even moved into Sarah's house, they were researching her financial situation, your pension, your savings account. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? I mean they targeted your daughter specifically because they knew she had access to money. Derek didn't meet Sarah by accident. He was introduced to her by a mutual friend, but that friend was paid by Derek's cousin to make the introduction. The room started spinning. Are you saying? I'm saying Derek's entire relationship with your daughter was a con from the beginning. They researched her, found out about her mother's death, her close relationship with you, your financial situation. Then they sent Derek in to seduce her and gain access to your money. I had to sit down. How long have they been planning this? At least 2 years, maybe longer. Mr. Sullivan, this wasn't just opportunistic theft. This was organized fraud, a long-term con designed to separate you from your money through your daughter. And Sarah? Does she know? I don't think so. I think she was as much a victim as you were. I hung up the phone and stared at the wall. Everything Derek had said about loving Sarah was a lie. Their entire relationship was built on deception and greed. But now I had something even more valuable than anger. I had proof. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't stop thinking about what Linda had discovered. My daughter's entire marriage was a lie. Every kiss, every "I love you," every moment of happiness Derek had given her was part of an elaborate con to steal my money. The next morning, I called Sarah and asked her to meet me at Jim Peterson's office. I didn't tell her why. How do you tell your daughter that her husband never loved her? That their whole relationship was a setup? Sarah arrived looking worried. Dad, what's going on? You sounded strange on the phone. Jim was there, along with Linda Hayes. I introduced Linda to Sarah, then sat down and took my daughter's hand. Sweetheart, what I'm about to tell you is going to hurt, but you need to know the truth. What truth? Linda opened her laptop and turned it towards Sarah. Mrs. Martinez, I've been investigating your husband's family. What we discovered is that your marriage was part of a long-term fraud scheme. Sarah's face went white. What do you mean? I mean Derek was sent to target you specifically. His family researched you for months before Derek was introduced to you. They knew about your mother's death, your close relationship with your father, and your father's financial situation. Sarah stared at the screen, where Linda was showing her surveillance photos, bank records, and text message exchanges between Derek's family members. This can't be real, Sarah whispered. Linda scrolled to a series of text messages between Derek and his cousin Rico. Messages from 2 weeks before Derek had supposedly met Sarah at that party. Derek, the target's name is Sarah Sullivan. Father's got pension plus savings. Girl's vulnerable because of dead mother. Rico, how much we talking? Derek, conservative estimate, $250,000. Maybe more if we play it right. Rico, and the plan? Derek, long term. Marriage, gain trust, move family in, drain accounts slowly. She won't suspect because she trusts family. Sarah's hands were shaking as she read. This isn't real. Derek loved me. He proposed to me. We were happy. Linda scrolled to more messages. These from just 3 months ago. Derek, old man getting suspicious. Might need to speed things up. Carlos, how much we got so far? Derek, $43,000 in cash plus the house. But there's more. Father's got retirement accounts, savings bonds. Could be another 100 grand easy. Maria, what about the girl? She getting suspicious too? Derek, Sarah's still clueless. As long as I keep her guilty and isolated, she'll do whatever I say. Sarah stood up so fast her chair fell over. I need air. I can't. She ran out of the office. I found her in the parking lot, throwing up behind Jim's car. Sarah, sweetheart. Dad, how could I have been so stupid? How could I not have seen it? You weren't stupid. You were targeted by professionals. 3 years, Dad. 3 years of my life. 3 years of believing someone loved me when it was all a lie. I held her while she cried, and I felt my anger crystallize into something cold and focused. These people hadn't just stolen my money. They'd stolen 3 years of my daughter's life. They'd made her believe she was loved when she was just being used. That was unforgivable. We went back inside where Linda had more evidence laid out. There's more, Linda said gently. The break-in at your house wasn't random vandalism. It was planned as psychological warfare. They wanted to break your spirit, make you feel unsafe, so you'd be more likely to take Derek back out of fear. She showed us text messages from the night of the break-in. Miguel, house is empty. She's at friend's place. Carmen, make it look random, but hit her where it hurts. Family photos, personal stuff. Carlos, make sure she knows she's not safe without Derek. Sarah read the messages with a look I'd never seen on her face before. Pure, cold fury. They destroyed my pictures of Mom on purpose. Yes, Linda said. They researched what would hurt you most emotionally. And Derek knew about this? Linda pulled up one more message. From Derek. Sent an hour before the break-in. Go ahead. But make sure it can't be traced back to us. Sarah stared at that message for a long time. Then she looked at me with steel in her eyes. Dad, I want them destroyed. Sarah, no, Dad. They didn't just steal from us. They played with my emotions for 3 years. They made me believe I was loved. They made me question my relationship with you. They isolated me from my friends, made me quit activities I loved, turned me into their servant. She stood up and paced the room. And when I finally stood up to them, they broke into my house and destroyed the last things I had of my mother. Not for money, Dad. Out of spite. Jim cleared his throat. Sarah, with this evidence, we can press charges for fraud, conspiracy, breaking and entering, destruction of property. I want them all charged, Sarah said firmly. Every single one of them. Are you sure? This is going to be a long, difficult process. I'm sure. They want to play games? Let's play. Over the next week, Jim worked with the district attorney's office to build the case. The evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, bank records, surveillance footage, financial documents. Everything needed to prove organized fraud and conspiracy. But I wasn't content to just let the legal system handle it. These people had hurt my daughter in ways that went beyond money. They damaged her ability to trust, to love, to believe in herself. So I decided to handle things my way too. I started with Derek's cousin Rico, the one who'd introduced Derek to Sarah. Rico worked at a car dealership, had a nice little setup selling cars to people with bad credit at inflated prices. It took Linda exactly 1 day to find evidence that Rico was falsifying loan documents and selling cars with hidden damage. A quick call to the state licensing board and the IRS, and suddenly Rico was facing his own legal problems. Miguel was next. He'd been collecting disability benefits while working under the table as a handyman. A few photos of him lifting heavy equipment and roofing houses sent to the right government office, and his benefits were suspended pending investigation. Carmen had been claiming her ex-husband wasn't paying child support to get state assistance, while he was actually sending money directly to her. A paper trail of cash deposits and her own social media posts showing new purchases took care of that lie. Carlos and Maria were the hardest to nail down, until Linda discovered they'd been running a small tax evasion scheme, claiming deductions for a business that didn't exist. The IRS is very interested in people who claim business expenses for companies that only exist on paper. By the end of the week, every adult member of Derek's family was dealing with their own legal nightmares. Fraud investigations, tax audits, license suspensions, benefit fraud charges. And Derek? Derek was about to get the worst surprise of all. Sarah had filed for divorce citing fraud. In Ohio, when a marriage is based on fraud, the victim can claim damages, not just the return of stolen money, but punitive damages for emotional distress. Jim calculated that Derek could be liable for over $200,000 in damages, money he didn't have and never would have. But the best part was the restraining order. Derek couldn't come within 500 feet of Sarah, couldn't contact her directly or through third parties, couldn't even drive down her street. 3 days later, Derek called me. His voice was shaking. "Frank, please, you gotta call off the dogs. My whole family is being investigated. They're gonna lose everything." "Good. Frank, please, I'm begging you. We'll leave town. We'll never contact Sarah again. Just make this stop." "Derek, you had your chance to do this the easy way. You chose the hard way. I never meant for it to go this far." "Yes, you did. You planned this whole thing from the beginning. You researched my daughter, targeted her vulnerabilities, and spent 3 years stealing from her while pretending to love her. Frank, you want this to stop, Derek? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to plead guilty to all charges. You're going to make a full confession detailing how your family planned this fraud. You're going to testify against every member of your family who participated. I can't do that. They're my family. And Sarah is mine. The difference is, I actually love my family. You just use yours. If I testify against them, they'll never forgive me. Derek, they threw you under the bus the minute they got caught. Your cousin Rico is already trying to make a deal with the prosecutor. Your brother Miguel is claiming he didn't know about the fraud. Your sister Carmen says you forced her to participate. Derek was quiet for a long time. They said that? They said that. Your family loyalty is a one-way street, Derek. You protect them, but they sure as hell don't protect you. What happens if I cooperate? You serve your time, pay your restitution, and when you get out, you start over somewhere else, far away from my daughter. And if I don't cooperate, then you go down with the ship. All of you. Derek was crying now. Frank, I really did love her. At first it was just business, but somewhere along the way, I really fell in love with Sarah. Then you should have called off the con. I tried. But my family, they said I owed them. They said I couldn't back out. Derek, even if that's true, it doesn't matter now. You made your choice. Frank, please. Derek, you've got 24 hours to decide. Cooperate with the prosecutors, or spend the next 10 years in prison with your family. I hung up on him. That night, Sarah and I had dinner together in her newly repaired house. The insurance had covered most of the damage, and she'd chosen to redecorate completely. New furniture, new paint, new everything. Dad, do you think I'll ever be able to trust anyone again? I think you'll be more careful about who you trust, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel so stupid. Sarah, you fell in love with someone you thought was a good man. That doesn't make you stupid. That makes you human. But how do I know it won't happen again? Because now you know what real love looks like. Real love doesn't ask you to choose between your family and your partner. Real love doesn't require you to give up your dreams or your identity. Real love doesn't steal from you. Sarah nodded, but I could see the pain in her eyes. Derek and his family hadn't just stolen money. They'd stolen her confidence, her ability to trust her own judgment. But I knew my daughter. She was stronger than they ever realized, and she was going to be just fine. The next morning, Derek called the prosecutor's office and agreed to cooperate fully. 6 months later, I'm sitting on Sarah's back porch, watching her plant flowers in the garden we're building together. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, and for the first time in over a year, my daughter is genuinely smiling. Derek got 5 years in federal prison for fraud and conspiracy. Miguel got 3 years for benefit fraud and tax evasion. Carmen lost custody of her kids temporarily and is serving 2 years probation. Carlos and Maria were deported back to Mexico after their immigration status was investigated and found to be fraudulent. Rico, Derek's cousin who started this whole mess, got the worst of it. 10 years for organized fraud, money laundering, and running a criminal enterprise. Turns out Derek's family wasn't their first target. They'd been running cons on vulnerable people for years. But the real victory isn't their punishment. It's watching Sarah rebuild her life. She got promoted at work last month. Started taking salsa dancing classes. Not because Derek's family made her feel guilty about her culture, but because she wanted to. She's dating again, slowly and carefully, but with confidence. Dad, hand me that bag of soil, will you? I pass her the bag and watch her work. Her hands are dirty, her hair's a mess, and she's never looked more beautiful. You know what the funny thing is? She says, not looking up from her planting. What's that, sweetheart? I'm grateful it happened. I nearly dropped my coffee cup. Grateful? Not grateful for the pain or the lies or the money they stole, but grateful that I learned who I really am. And who's that? Sarah sits back on her heels and looks at me. I'm Frank Sullivan's daughter, and Frank Sullivan's daughter doesn't let anyone walk all over her. That makes me smile. No, she doesn't. I spent so much time trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law, that I forgot to be myself. Derek's family saw that weakness and exploited it. You weren't weak, Sarah. You were kind. Same thing sometimes. But I've learned the difference between being kind and being a doormat. She goes back to her planting, and I think about everything we've been through. The lies, the manipulation, the heartbreak, the legal battles. It's been hell, but it's also been educational. Derek's family thought they were smart. They thought they'd found the perfect marks in a lonely old man and his trusting daughter. They thought we'd be easy targets because we loved each other. They were wrong. What they didn't understand is that real family doesn't just love unconditionally. Real family protects each other. Real family fights for each other. And when someone threatens real family, they find out what we're really made of. Dad, I got a letter from Derek yesterday. I tense up. What did he want? To apologize, to explain, to ask for forgiveness. And I threw it away without reading it. Good. He's not the same person I fell in love with, Dad. Maybe he never was. The man I thought I married was kind, honest, hardworking. The real Derek is none of those things. Some people are good at pretending to be what you need them to be. Yeah, well, I'm done falling for pretenses. Sarah finishes planting her flowers and stands up, brushing dirt off her knees. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you just let it go? After we kicked them out, why did you keep fighting? I think about that question. Why didn't I just let it go? Because, sweetheart, some things are worth fighting for. Your happiness is worth fighting for. Your future is worth fighting for. And sometimes, when people hurt the ones you love, you have to show them there are consequences. Even if it takes months and costs thousands of dollars. Even then, Sarah walks over and hugs me. Thank you, Dad, for fighting for me when I was too broken to fight for myself. That's what fathers do, sweetheart. No, that's what good fathers do. Derek's father helped plan the whole con. Your father taught you to protect the people you love. We stand there on the porch, looking at the garden we planted together, and I think about my own father. He died when I was 35, never got to meet Sarah, but I hope he'd be proud of the man I became, the father I tried to be. Dad, I have some news. What kind of news? I've been seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but I wanted you to know. My first instinct is to ask 100 questions. Who is he? What does he do? Where did you meet him? Has he been investigated by a private detective? But I don't ask any of those questions. Are you happy? I'm cautious. But yeah, I think I'm happy. Then I'm happy for you. You don't want to know anything about him? I want to know if he treats you with respect. I want to know if he makes you laugh. I want to know if he supports your dreams instead of trying to control them. He does all of those things. Then that's all I need to know for now. Sarah smiles. His name is Michael. He's a teacher. We met at the bookstore. He's never asked me for money, never tried to isolate me from my friends, and he thinks father-daughter relationships are important. Sounds like a smart man. He wants to meet you. When I'm ready. Whenever you're ready, sweetheart. I'll be here. The sun is setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Sarah and I sit on the porch swing. Her mother and I bought when she was just a baby. Dad, do you ever regret buying me this house? Never. Not for 1 second. Even though it caused so much trouble? Sarah buying you this house didn't cause trouble. Derek's family caused trouble. The house just gave them the opportunity to show their true colors. I guess that's one way to look at it. It's the only way to look at it. I bought this house to give you security and happiness. Derek's family tried to steal both. But in the end, you still have the house. You still have your security. And you're happier than you've been in years. And they're all in jail or deported. And they're all in jail or deported. Sarah laughs. Dad, promise me something. What? Promise me you'll always be this protective, even when I'm 50 and you're 90. Sweetheart, I'll be protecting you from my grave if I have to. Good. Because I never want to go through anything like this again without you in my corner. As we sit there watching the sunset, I think about the young father I was 40 years ago, working double shifts at the steel mill, worried about making ends meet. I think about the broken widower I was 20 years ago, trying to raise a daughter alone. I think about the desperate grandfather I almost became, watching helplessly as criminals destroyed my daughter's life. But mostly, I think about the man I am today. A man who learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is fight back. Derek's family thought they could target us because we looked like easy marks, an old man with money and a trusting daughter with a soft heart. They were half right. We do have soft hearts. We do believe in the good in people. We do try to help when we can. But they forgot something important. Soft hearts don't mean weak spines. And Frank Sullivan's daughter learned that lesson better than anyone. So here's what I want you to remember. If you're listening to this story and thinking about your own life, family isn't just about blood. Family isn't just about love. Real family is about protection, loyalty, and standing up for each other when the world gets tough. And sometimes, when someone tries to hurt your family, you have to show them what real strength looks like. Not the strength to take advantage of people, but the strength to fight back when you're being taken advantage of. The strength to say no when people try to guilt you into saying yes. The strength to put your foot down when someone tries to walk all over you. And the strength to protect the people you love, no matter what it costs. Because in the end, that's what love really is. Not just caring about someone, but being willing to fight for them, even when they can't fight for themselves. Even when it's hard, even when it takes everything you've got. That's real love. That's real family. And that's worth fighting for. Now tell me, if you were in my shoes, would you have done the same thing? And let me know what city you're listening from out there in this big, beautiful world.